You ever see someone do something so outrageous, so off the charts selfish, that for a split second you wonder if maybe you're actually dreaming? That was me standing by my son's grave when the president of our HOA drove her damn SUV hazard lights blinking straight onto his burial plot. Not kidding. She leaned out all business and said, "Wrap it up. This gathering isn't permitted." Like we were some rowdy teenagers throwing a kegger, not a grieving family about to lower our 10-year-old boy into the ground. And the wild part, she actually ended up getting 10 years for what she did. Justice with a capital J. But I guess you should hear how we got there. The hearse pulled up. The sky was this lazy, dull gray like the weather itself couldn't be bothered to care. I remember my wife Amy holding my hand so hard it hurt. She needed to keep me upright, and honestly, I needed it. Leo was everything. Funny, wild, always sticky with popsicle juice. We were saying goodbye to our son, and my world had shrunk to this patch of too green grass. I fix things for a living, cabinets, tables, anything with sharp corners and loose screws. But not this, not my boy. There's a kind of quiet at funerals, you know. Not peaceful, just heavy sacred. We had just started the prayer, the priest murmuring, when this engine shattered everything. Not a thunderclap, not sobbing. Just that low, arrogant growl, big, expensive, entitled. Heads turned. I saw it before my brain could make sense. A pearl-white SUV coming right at us. Didn't even slow down. Tires bounced over the curb, rolled right up to the edge of Leo's grave, and God help me, one tire actually touched the corner. I felt the earth under my feet shudder. The crowd gasped. It hit like a punch. Our priest, good man Father Michael, just stopped, mouth open, prayer book shaking. Out steps Karen Truman. Of course. Karen, queen of the HOA, president for life of Whitehurst County. She looked like she was about to evict someone from an office cubicle, not this. Not a whiff of empathy. She didn't look at us, didn't even glance at the casket. She just scanned the crowd for code violations like she was ticking boxes. Marched up, pointed at the priest, her fingernails perfect, her eyes cold. "Excuse me, we need to wrap this up. This gathering is unpermitted. You're in violation of community aesthetic guidelines." The words just echoed in the silence. Father Michael blinked, flustered. "Ma'am, this is a burial. A child's." But she cut him off with a wave. "Seen it 1,000 times at board meetings. The bylaws are clear. No large assemblies without board approval. And this display," she waved at Leo's flowers like they were a crime scene. "It's excessive. Visual disruption. You ever feel rage so pure it makes you dizzy?" I was paralyzed. Couldn't move, couldn't think. Amy wasn't. Her phone was out recording, not missing a beat. Karen pulled out her badge, some cheap plastic thing on a lanyard with a fake eagle stamped on it. "I am the president of the Whitehurst County Homeowners Association. This is a compliance check. You have 5 minutes to disperse or I'll issue citations." She actually shushed the priest. Shushed him, put her finger to her lips, shh, at a man trying to help my boy find peace. The crowd's disbelief curdled into anger. My brother-in-law, big guy, usually a teddy bear, looked ready to swing. I grabbed his arm. "Not here, not now. Not." Karen, oblivious, clicked her key fob. Hazard lights blinked, blink, 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 casting orange on the grave. Like a warning sign or a sick joke. I knew standing there that whatever hope for peace I'd carried to the cemetery was gone. Only justice left. Amy dialed 911. Calm, clear. "A woman has driven her vehicle onto a burial plot during a funeral service. She's refusing to move." The cops came. 2 officers. Karen strutted up to them, badge swinging. "Officers, thank you for your prompt response. I'm Karen Truman, president of the Whitehurst HOA. This is an unpermitted assembly in violation of community ordinances. I've asked them to disperse. They're uncooperative." She handed over her binder, HOA bylaws highlighted in screaming pink. Officer Miller, tall, took the paper unreadable. Officer Sanchez looked past Karen, saw the casket, the priest, our faces. He saw what was really going on. "Ma'am, Miller said this cemetery isn't under your covenant. Your authority ends at the subdivision. And even if it didn't, you can't park on a grave." Karen laughed, short, sharp. "You clearly don't understand the scope of the Whitehurst covenant. It applies to all properties within the zone. This cemetery falls within that zone." I wanted to scream. Amy stepped forward, played the video. You could hear Karen's SUV, hear her telling the priest to wrap it up. Officers' faces hardened. "Sanchez, less patient now, ma'am. Move your car. You're trespassing and disrupting a funeral." Karen folded her arms. I will not be moving my vehicle until this area is cleared and brought into compliance. I am acting in my official capacity. That's when I finally found my voice. She cracked it, I said, rough and small. Cracked what Miller asked. I just pointed. The vault, the brace, her tire. He walked over, crouched, shined his flashlight where her SUV met the earth, stood up, hat off disbelief written all over his face. Ma'am, he said, voice like steel, that's part of a burial vault. Not a turf scuff, that's structural damage. In a cemetery, that's desecration. Felony. The smug drained from Karen's face, replaced by fear. She stammered, that's ridiculous. Shoddy workmanship. Officer Miller wasn't listening. Handcuffs out. You were told this was a burial. You refused to leave. You caused damage. Karen Truman, you're under arrest. The sound of those cuffs louder than any scream. The whole crowd just stood there holding their breath, watching as she protested, shrieked, I am the HOA president. I have rights. I'll have your jobs. But it didn't matter. The hazard lights on her precious SUV just kept blinking, mocking her. When the tow truck came and dragged that SUV away, I finally took my first full breath all day. But that wasn't the end. Not by a long shot. Karen was out on bail before we finished our sad little sandwiches back at home. And then the notices started. You ever heard of yard melancholy? Yeah, that's what my first violation was for. The envelope said our front lawn reflected a state of melancholy out of compliance with cheerful and vibrant presentation. $50 if I didn't fix the emotional state of my landscaping in a week. I just stared at it. Was I supposed to pep talk the petunias? Draw a smiley face on my oak? Amy took one look, dead serious. This is harassment. Retaliation. She started a folder on her laptop, labeled it Karen, and scanned in the notice as Exhibit A. The next day, a violation for the color of the wreath on our door. Not in the 3 pre-approved grief hues. Exhibit B. After that, a parking violation, my truck parked where it's always been, now improper vehicular placement by 2 inches. Exhibit C. Then came the garbage can, citations, flag citations, wind chime citations, my dad's old retirement flag now too wavy for community standards. It was death by 1,000 paper cuts. But each one made me angrier, less a victim, more a craftsman building a case instead of a cabinet. Neighbors got hit too. Eli down the street, his aggressively cheerful lawn gnomes got cited. Mrs. Gable's wind chimes were unharmonious. Karen wanted us isolated, wanted everyone too scared to stand up. But people don't work that way. Not in a real community. So I started a binder. Photos, letters, emails, violations. Dates, bylaw numbers, fines. Amy, meanwhile, dug deeper. The badge Karen flashed at the funeral looked cheap to her. The official order too crisp. Amy's got a nose for digital breadcrumbs. She zoomed in on the badge, generic Eagle Whitehurst County Compliance Officer. Ran it through image search. Turns out you could buy the template online. $9.99 for the digital file, $50 for the lanyard. Karen T. from White County left a 5-star review, perfect for adding a little extra authority. We printed it out. Exhibit D. Then Amy compared Karen's official order to the real county bylaws. The fonts were off. The seal was fake. The inkjet, not laser. She'd forged the whole thing. Dated it a week before the funeral, but the ink was still fresh that morning. She planned the stunt. Premeditated. We sent it all to our lawyer. Save everything she wrote. We'll use every receipt. Things got quiet. Too quiet. No more notices. No more patrols. We thought maybe she'd crawled under a rock. Wrong. Buddy Eli called late one night, saw Karen and 2 of her goons with a big plastic tote sneaking through the cemetery fence. We needed proof. Amy grabbed her drone, a 4K night vision whisper quiet machine. We snuck to a hill with a clear view. Amy piloted the drone right over. There they were, Karen, her 2 board lackeys, and a tote full of stickers, big ugly orange violation stickers. I watched horrified as they started tagging headstones, ours too, marking territory even here. Amy caught it all. Faces, stickers, license plate, the works. We sent it to our lawyer. She did it again. We have video. The next night we went back, this time not hiding. But we didn't go alone. My friend Marcus, VFW post-president motorcycle club leader, brought 30 bikers. Veterans, all of them. They lined up silent, shoulder to shoulder, a wall around the graves. Right on schedule, Karen's SUV crept up. She got out, saw the wall of men, and stopped cold. Her goons froze too. She tried to bluster, got nothing but silence. One goon just put the tote down and stepped back like he wanted nothing to do with it. Finally, Karen spun around, marched back to her car, and sped off. The wall held. We called the police. They bagged the toad as evidence. The next morning, our lawyer handed everything over to the DA. They wanted a pattern, so we went public. Buddy Eli set up a live stream. Neighbors lined up to share their stories, holding up ridiculous citations like trophies. Karen's attempt at damage control across the street. No one listened. They were all at Buddy's lawn or watching online. The DA called us live on air, and suddenly Karen's reign was over. When the trial came, the evidence was a landslide. Fake badges, fake documents, drone footage of the sticker spree, witness testimony from Barry and Glenn, her own henchmen who'd flipped to save themselves. Karen's defense, I did it for property values. That's it. That's what she said after all the pain she caused. The judge, a stone-faced woman named Benton, said it best. Miss Truman, you used a position of minor authority to terrorize a grieving family and desecrate a sacred space. In this courtroom, human decency is valued far more than property values. 10 years, 5 to serve 5, probation, lifetime, HOA ban. That sound of the gavel. It echoed in my chest for days. We sued the HOA too. Their insurance company settled. We didn't want the money, not for us. We used every penny to build the Leo Freedom Memorial Garden, a sanctuary in the cemetery for families who'd lost a child. A place with trees, wind chimes, and gnomes no one would ever call aggressively cheerful. On Leo's anniversary, Amy and I stood there. The grass was thick, the roses bright against the granite. The world was quiet finally. I traced Leo's name with my finger, set one last red rose. Love is not a code violation. So here's what I want to know. What would you have done if it were your family, your loss, your Karen? Where's the line between standing up and fighting back? Between letting it go and making sure justice gets done? Tell me, ever been in a spot where you had to push back against someone who thought the rules were only for other people? Drop your story below, because sometimes the only way to hold the line is to hold it together.